Assalamu alaikum, I'm Saadat Nisar and you are studying electronic commerce. In our today's lecture, we shall be discussing some more examples regarding JavaScript. We have seen a few important examples in our previous lecture with regard to JavaScript. In our today's lecture, I basically want to show you the application of date object, then the string object, and then I want to show you with the help of an example how we can use certain checks in a registration form with the help of JavaScript. So let's start with an example with regard to the date object. Date object again is a predefined object in JavaScript and it has got its own properties, its functions. There are functions like get day, get date, get year, etc. in date object, and we shall see how do we apply these functions. But initially I want to show you a slide. You can see on the screen, I start with the HTML tag, there is a head tag, then title tag, then body tag. Within the body tag, I use the script tag, language, JavaScript, type, text, oblique JavaScript, and then I use a document.write. Document.write, there is a string, welcome, you are visiting my website on. This portion, this sentence is contained within the double quotation marks. This is a string, therefore it would appear as such. And then there is the concatenation sign plus, and then I write the keyword date. In fact, this is a function of the date object. I represent it with the word date, and then I close the script tag, body tag, HTML tag, and when this code would be executed, it would result into this page. You can see I have a line written on my web page which states, welcome, you are visiting my website on wed.org 2/1/59/24/2006. So in fact, in a particular format, in a pre-set format, this message, this date would be shown on our web page. This is because I have used the predefined date function of the date object, and the date which is available in the system in a particular format, that would be written on the web page because of document.write. Now, in case I want this date to be written in a different format, in a format that I myself set to write the date, for that I would have to do some effort. I'll be required to do some coding, and where I would use the JavaScript functions of the date object, and then I can create my own date. So you can see in the slide, if I want the message to be written in the format that there should first be a greeting message like good morning, it's Wednesday. Now instead of just wed, I have written the full day name Wednesday, then the full month name August instead of just Aug, and then there is the date 2, then the year 2006, and then comes the time at 2:02 a.m. So in case I want this greeting message and the date to be written in this format, I would have to do the coding, as you can see now. On the screen, I have written a code to generate this date in this particular format for me. HTML tag, head tag, title tag, then comes the body tag, and where I use the script tag, language, JavaScript, type, text, oblique JavaScript, and then within the comment mark, /, I store the date in a variable. This is just a clue for the user that what the coder is going to do. Underneath, you see, I have defined the instance of the date object. So I define it with the letter D. You can see D is equal new date, and after the keyword date, there are the parentheses. This statement D equal new date, in fact, that defines the instance of the date object. Here I should point out to you that I use the constructor of a particular object in order to create an instance, or in other words, a copy of that object. Constructor is defined as that initializing function which is used to define the instance or a copy of an object. It is after the name of that object whose instance is to be created. So the constructor for date object would have the keyword date in it. The constructor for string object would have the keyword string in it. Then you can notice that the constructor date is preceded by a keyword new. This is a keyword. By syntax, I have to write this keyword new before writing the constructor date, and then I equate it to D. So in this fashion, I have defined an instance, a copy of date object following this particular syntax. You will notice that using this instance, then I would invoke the different functions of the date object to get my desired results. Underneath, you can see I define a variable. I name it date text, and I keep its value as an empty string. Then my first anxiety is to get the current day. For that, again, I define a variable. I name it day value, and I keep its value d.getDay. Here, getDay is a predefined function of the date object, and in order to invoke this function, the syntax says that I do d.getDay. And then underneath there are a few if-else statements. You can see if day value is equal to 0, then date text plus equals Sunday. This means that when the system returns the value because of d.getDay in terms of a number, it always returns in terms of a number. In case this value is equal to 0, then date text, which initially had an empty value in it, no value in it, it should become Sunday. Else, if day value is equal 1, then date text plus equal Monday. If the system returns the value 1, then date text variable should have a value written in it as Monday. Else, if day value is equal to date text plus equal Tuesday, which means that in case the value returned is 2 for day value, then the date text should have the word Tuesday written in it. And so on. At the bottom, the last, else if day value equals 6, then date text plus equal Saturday, means that if the value returned is 6, then date text should have the day name as Saturday. Similarly, I can get the value of the month. For that, you will see I use the getMonth function of the date object, and which would result into a value in terms of a number in relation to a month. And again, using some if statements, I would get the name of the month. You have a slide before you. I define a variable. I keep its name month value equal d.getMonth. Here the keyword, the function name is getMonth. When I do d.getMonth, the browser knows that it has to return a value, a number, which would correspond to a month. Then date text plus equal, there is again an empty space, which means that plus equal would mean that whatever is written in this variable, date text, that should be continued with a blank space. and after that blank space, the name of the month would appear. You can see there is the if statement. If month value equals 0, then this variable date text plus equal January. That means that in that variable date text, the month name January should appear if month value is returned by the system as 0. Similarly, if month value is 1, date text plus equal February, so on. If month value is equal 11, date text plus equal December. So you can see at the end, if month value equal 11, date text plus equal December, that would mean in case the system returns a value 11, then the date text should have the month name December written in it. So in this fashion, we get the value of the month using the function getMonth. Next, I want to get the value of the date and the year which is to be written on my web page. For that, again, there are functions which I will use. GetDate function, GetYear function, and they would result into the values for the date and the year respectively. So on the screen, you can see if d.getYear is less than 2000, date text plus equal, again there should be a blank space. Whatever is written is already filled in the variable date text, that should further be continued with a blank space. Then there is a plus sign, the concatenation mark, and then d.getDate. GetDate is a function, therefore the date value would be actually returned. So d.getDate, if the date is 15th or say 20th, 15th or 20th as the case may be, that would be returned. Then concatenation sign, then there is a string. Within the string you can see a comma. So a comma therefore would appear at that place as such. Then after the concatenation sign, within the parenthesis, I write 1900 plus d.getYear. d.getYear would bring the year value for me. Before the year 2000, the values of years which were fed into the systems, they were in 2 digits. So if the year was 1997, the system would return me just 97, 97. 19 would not be preceded. But my anxiety is that I want the full year name to be written in 4 digits, like 1997. So therefore, I use this if statement and I add the number 1900 with the d.getYear. In case the system returns me 97, then 97 would be added with 1900 and it would become 1997. And the year therefore in 4 digits would be then written for me. After the year 2000, the systems, they have fed into them the year value in terms of 4 digits. So there is no problem. We don't have to add anything in case the year value is 2000 or beyond. Therefore, in the else statement, you can see date text plus equal, there is the empty string, then plus d.getDate as I did before, plus within the string the comma, then plus d.getYear. So therefore it means that in case the year is beyond 2000, it is not less than 2000, then in that case just the year value should be returned and that should be filled in the variable date text. So if the year is 2006, then d.getYear would bring me 2006. No need to add anything. In order to get the minutes, again I define a variable, I name it minute value, and minute value equals d.getMinutes. This means that using this get minutes function, the system should provide me the minute value, and then that value should be assigned to the variable minute value. I use an if statement in this regard also. You can see in the following line, if minute value is less than 10, then minute value equal, in string I write 0 plus minute value. That means that if the minutes returned are less than 10, say 7 minutes, then I want the digit 7 to be preceded by the digit 0. So 07 in fact should be printed for me where the minutes are less than 10. And for that I do this thing, I use this statement, minute value equals 0 plus minute value. Where I want to get the hours, and I want the hours to be written in the format of AM or PM, then I again have to play some trick, because the system returns these hour values in terms of hours to me. So 20 hours, 23 hours, 16 hours, etc. But I want these hours to be written for me in terms of AM or PM, like 4 PM, 2 AM, etc. So therefore, you can see again in the slide, get the current hours, then hour value equals d dot get hours. That shows that the hours which are lying on the system, that value should be assigned to the variable called hour value. And I then use a few if statements. If hour value is less than 12, then there is a curly bracket in which I type two statements. In fact, I have defined here two new variables, one variable greeting and the other variable time text. So I'm saying that if our value is less than 12, then greeting variable should have value good morning. You can see within the double quotation mark, I write a string good morning, and this value is for the variable greeting. Then time text equals in the string at plus our value. So our value is not within the string, not within the double quotation mark. So our value that has been returned, that would be typed here. That would be concatenated with the word at. And then again the plus sign, and then within the string a colon, again plus mark, and then minute value. So the minute value as was calculated for me, that would be filled here in the variable time text. Then plus the AM sign would appear, it is within the double quotation mark, that would appear as such. In this fashion, these two variables, greeting and time text, they are filled. You can see then there is the else if statement. If the R value is not less than 12, rather it is equal 12, if R value equals 12, then within the curly bracket, greeting should become good afternoon, and time text should become at plus R value plus colon plus minute value plus PM. So the only change in time text is PM. Instead of AM, now we have PM. And then the curly bracket closes. Else if R value is less than 17, say it is less than 5 o'clock in the afternoon, say it is 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then in that case, greeting should become good afternoon, time text should become at plus R value minus 12 plus colon plus minute value plus PM. You can notice I am subtracting 12 from R value. Assume that the system returns us 16 hours, but I want the time to be stated as 4 PM. So therefore, from 16, I would subtract 12 to get 4. So in this way, I get my result as 4 PM and not as 16 hours. Then there is another else statement. You can see greeting variable, it has now its value good evening. So therefore, when the time bracket is between the 5 o'clock in the afternoon and 12 o'clock in the night, then within this time bracket, the greeting message should be good evening, and time text should be at plus R value minus 12 plus colon plus minute value plus PM. Again, R value minus 12 because I want the result to be in PM. So in case the R value returned to me is 20 hours, it is 8 o'clock in the afternoon, so 20 minus 12. So therefore 8 PM would be resulted for me. And in the end, I just use a document.write and I get the values of these three variables written for me on the web page. You can see document.write. Then first of all, I type the variable greeting. It is not within the double quotation mark, therefore the value of this variable greeting, that would be written for me. Good morning, good afternoon, whatever. Then concatenation sign, then the word it's would appear, then plus sign, date text. The date text, my first variable which I had defined for getting the month value, day value, etc. The values filled in that date text variable, they would therefore be displayed. After that, because of the plus sign, concatenation sign, the values filled in the variable time text, they would appear. Time text holds the minute values, the hour values for me, and these values therefore would be printed. And then I close the script, the body and the HTML tag. You can see the result of this huge coding is just one line for me. In fact, this message has been customized for me because of the coding I did, because of the if statements I had used. Accordingly, this message was generated for me. The time which was available in the system according to this format, that was then written for me. Again, you can see good morning. It's Wednesday, August 2, 2006 at 2:02 a.m. So whenever I had executed this code, the time that was available then, that was shown for me as such. There is another very useful object, predefined object in JavaScript, that is the string object. It has got its unique methods or function names or properties, and I can use those to create some desired results for me. So there is the function to uppercase, to lowercase, char, at, etc. And I'll show you practically how these functions they operate. On the screen, you can see there is a code for the string object. You can see I start with the HTML tag, then there is the head tag, title tag, and then there is the body tag. Then within the body tag, I create an h1 tag and I write using the string object, an h1 level heading, and then the script tag, language JavaScript, type text JavaScript, and here I create an instance, or in other words, a copy of the string object. The same method I told you we had used in case of date example, same mechanism I use here. So I define this instance with the word str equals new. New is a keyword which I ought to write. And then string. String here is the constructor of the string object. And within the small brackets, I type a string which states, this is a test of JavaScript string methods. So in this fashion, I have created an instance of string object. Underneath, I create an instance of array object. And I define this instance by the word my array equal new. New again is a keyword. Array, the word array here is the constructor for the array object, and then within small brackets I write 10. 10 here indicates that the size of this array is 10. Following line shows that my array equals string dot split, and then there is a blank space within the bracket. That would indicate that the string that I have typed, it should be separated on the basis of a blank space, and each word as a value should be assigned to the array called my array. And then I have a few document dot write. The first document dot write, I use the char at function of the string object. This is within the double quotation marks string dot char at 3. So that would be typed as such. And then I concatenated string dot char at 3. That means that the character of this string at the index number 3, that should be written for me. So what is that character? That is S. At the index number 3, the character is S. And because of char at 3, using this function of string object, the value S would be printed for me. Then there is the concatenation mark and then the paragraph sign. You notice that paragraph tag has to be used here within the parenthesis of document dot write. If I write it outside or I omit the double quotation mark for the paragraph tag, then there can be an error generated for me. Then document dot write string dot substring 2025. Here I'm using a function substring of the string object, and I concatenate string dot substring 2025. This means that whatever values are appearing on the index starting from 21, including 21 up to 25, that substring, those values, they should be written for me. This is because of the substring method. So for counting, I would include the blank spaces also. While doing the counting for 21 up to 25, I would include the blank spaces. Then the paragraph tag, then again the third document dot write. Here I use another different function to lowercase. So string dot to lowercase, I write it within the string, that would appear as such. Then I use the concatenation sign, then string dot to lowercase. To lowercase function of the string object converts the characters within the string into lowercase automatically, as you will see in the result very shortly. Then there is the concatenation mark, then again a paragraph tag which would provide a line break, a line space. Then subsequently again a document dot write string dot to uppercase. Now I use a different function to uppercase. The application of this function to uppercase is that it would convert my string into uppercase automatically. Next, document dot write string dot split my array 0, that information that would appear in the string, and then I write my array 0. That means that whatever value has been assigned to the instance of array object called my array at the 0 index, that value should be written for me. So at the 0 index, the value for this array, that would be this. Therefore, the word this would be written for me. And then there is again the paragraph tag. In the next document dot write string dot split my array 1. Then I concatenate my array 1 plus paragraph. That means that the value on the first index of this instance of array, my array, that value should be displayed. And at the index 1, the value is. You remember that I had split this string on the basis of blank spaces, and I had assigned its words as value to the array instance. So when I write my array 1, that would bring me the value is. If I write my array 2, that would bring me the value A. After that, I close the script tag, close the body tag, close the HTML tag. You will see the result of this code when I use these different methods, these different functions of the string object. I get the desired results accordingly. You can notice on the slide, using the string object, this is the heading, h1 heading, then string dot char at 3, and the character at the index 3 is S, so therefore that is displayed. String dot substring 20, 25. That means that a substring should be created from within the index range of 21 to 25, excluding 20, and by counting the blank spaces, and that results into VASCR. So that substring VASCR would be displayed. String dot to lowercase, and then you can notice the whole string that is converted into lowercase. String dot to uppercase, and you can find that this string is now converted into uppercase. String dot split my array 0. So the value for this array at the index 0 is this. So the word this therefore is written. String dot split my array 1. The value at the index 1 is on the basis of split function. So that value is therefore displayed for me. You may have experienced that there are certain websites, we access these websites and there are certain text boxes, certain buttons which are available, which are shown on these sites. In fact, it's a web form and we are required to give certain information through this form. You may have also noticed that at times when we enter values in these text boxes and when we click some buttons after that, certain pop-up boxes, alert boxes, they pop up for us. And you can see that there are certain messages written in these alert boxes. For example, your password is invalid, or there can be a statement written in the alert box. Your name is limited from 5 to 15 characters. So all these different checks that we can introduce in our web form, we use basically JavaScripting for that. So JavaScripting has an essential purpose of checking the patterns. We can do this checking of patterns on the client side with the help of JavaScript functions. And I want to show you a practical example in this regard, and you will see that I have introduced certain checks, and when these checks are applied, certain pop-up boxes, alert boxes are accordingly generated for the user. The user gets these warning messages and then the user can do the modification. He can then correct himself accordingly. There is a slide on the screen. You find there are a few text boxes, and at the top there is a heading, to register please enter the following information. There is a text box, name, then address text box, login text box, password, confirm password, email, and underneath there are two buttons, register and reset. In fact, I have created a form, and in this form I would use JavaScript to create various checks. Let's have a look at the code which has resulted into this web form, and it has also contained these checks. You can see on the screen, we start with the HTML tag, then there is the head tag, and then I use a script tag, language JavaScript, and then I define a function on window load, and within the curly bracket I type a statement, window.regform.userlogin.focus. I would explain that to you later, that is not that important an information. For the time being, let's skip that. And let's come to the function below. This is a very important function. Function check values. I have named this function as check values. And within the curly brackets, I have in fact defined a few variables. I would also introduce some if statements. The closing curly bracket of this function check values appears just before the closing of the script tag. You would notice that when we go through this code further, you can see that I have defined a few variables here where user login equals document.regform.userlogin.value. You are now familiar with this concept. We use that in calculator. It means that the user who types a certain value in the text box called user login, that value should be assigned to the variable user login. Similarly, where user password equal document.regform.userpassword.value, this indicates that the value typed by the user in the form called regform in the text box called user password, that value should be given to the variable user password. And similarly, I also define variables confirm password, con password, and the value entered in the con password text box would be allocated to this variable. Then user address, the value printed in the text box user address would become the value for this variable user address. And then the name variable, so the value entered in the name text box would be the value for this name variable. Then you can see I have introduced two variables, max length and min length. The value for this variable max length I have set 15 and value for min length has been set as 3. So these are the variables I have defined here in the function check values. Next, I have used an if statement to apply a check here, and that check is if user login dot length equals 0 or user address dot length is 0 or name dot length is 0, then within the curly bracket there is the alert function which says please fill in all values and underneath return false. So that means if a user does not type anything in the text box user login, or he fails to type anything in the text box user address, or say in the text box called name, he does not type anything in that text box, in any of these eventualities there should be an alert box stating please fill in all values, and the value false should be returned, which means that the values typed in by the user in the form, they would not be transmitted to the server side or to any application or any URL unless the user makes this correction. So that is a check here. We warn the user to make these corrections, otherwise his data would not be sent to the server side or to an application. Here, let me point out this word length is a keyword here that is a property of the string object. So user login dot length means that the value, the string, the length of the string, user login dot length would mean the length of the string which is typed in the text box login. If that string is 0, if nothing is filled in that text box, in that case this alert box should generate the message. And I can show you the result for this check. Notice I type just the value in the text box called name. I type my name Sadat, but I omit to type anything in the address or login text boxes. And when I click the register button, the alert function, it gets executed and it gives me a pop-up box, please fill in all values. This is because of the check, the if statement that I had applied, which I showed to you. Then the second check, the second if statement, you can notice if user login dot length is less than min length, or user login dot length is greater than max length, in that case again an alert message, alert, and what should be typed in the alert box? Login name is limited to, then there is the concatenation mark plus min length. The value of min length we have set 3, so the digit 3 would appear. Then plus sign, then there is the hyphen mark, and it is within the double quotation mark. We want it to appear as such. Then plus max length. Here the value of the max length, which is 15, that would appear. And then plus characters. The word characters is in a string, so that would appear as such. So in that eventuality, again, it should be return false, and no data would be passed on to the other side. Let's see what result do we get if this check is applicable. You can notice I type my name, and then I type some address, then I type the login, and then I have also typed password, confirm password, email, but you can focus on the login text box, and I have written the login name which goes beyond the permissible limit. It is beyond the limit of max length, which was 15. So that would in fact result into the warning message, and there would be an alert box stating login name is limited to 3 to 15 characters. Whatever I had contained in the string in the alert function, that would be displayed. Let's go to our next check. That is in relation to the password now. It's quite similar with the previous one. You can see the third if statement, if user password dot length is less than min length, or user password dot length is greater than max length, then alert box should state password is limited to plus min length, plus there would be a hyphen, plus max length, plus characters. Again, the values for min length and max length, they would be substituted, which were 3 and 15 respectively, and return false. The result would be somewhat like this. Notice I fill in the name text box, then I fill the address text box, then login text box. I don't violate the condition here for login. Then I type the password. But here I am violating the condition. I am just entering 2 characters in the text box password, wherever I had set the condition that min length is 3. So I violate the min length condition. I just type 2 characters. I write confirm password, some values, then I also write the email. But because I had violated the condition in the text box password, that would result into this alert box. Password is limited to 3 to 15 characters. Next is an else statement, and if all these checks which I had told you above, if these checks are passed, there is no violation of these checks, then this else statement would be then executed. And you can see there I have used a for statement within this else statement. For I equals 0, semicolon, I less than user login dot length, semicolon, I plus plus. And then I use an if statement. If user login dot char at I equals, comma, or user login dot char at I equals semicolon, then the alert box should have the message invalid login name, and it should return false. Here you should apply the concept behind the for loops. I have taught you this concept before, but let's have a look at it again. You know, there are 3 statements in the for loop in the small bracket, and there is one condition. For I is equal to 0, the initialization I do, and I keep I equals 0. This is my first statement. and then I is less than user login dot length, and I want this loop to continue until the value of I is less than the value of user login dot length. So in case a user types in the login text box the name Ali, which consists of 3 characters, then the user login dot length would equal 3. Length is a property of the string object, so therefore user login dot length would return us a value 3 for the name entered Ali. So in case we apply this Ali example, since 0 is less than 3, the condition in the second statement, I less than user login dot length, that is therefore satisfied, which would result into the if statement execution. We will enter into the if statement, and then if statement is user login dot char at I equals comma or user login char at I equals semicolon, then an alert message. It means that if the value at the zero index is corresponding to the character A in the name Ali. So if at the 0 index the value is either a comma or a semicolon, then an alert message should come. So my first character would therefore be checked. If the first character in the name Ali instead of A is comma or semicolon, then the alert message would come. If it is not, then the loop would continue. So therefore, after checking this first character A, then there would be the third statement of for loop. It would execute. There would be an increment. First I started with the 0. Now after I plus plus, it would become 1. And then this condition would be checked, the second statement, since I is now 1 and 1 is less than 3. Therefore, this loop would continue. So I would again come to the if statement. The second character would now be checked, which is lying on the index 1, and that character is in fact here L. And I would check if user login dot char at 1 is equal comma or it is equal semicolon, then invalid. But here in my case I have typed L, which is not a comma or a semicolon. So this test is passed. My second character is also okay. It is not comma or semicolon, it is valid. That would mean that my loop would further continue. Again there would be I plus plus, so I would now become 2. Then the condition would be checked. 2 is again less than 3. Therefore I have to again come to the if statement. Now if user login dot char at 2 is a comma or a semicolon, then it would be an invalid thing. But in my particular example, in the name Ali, at the index 2, the letter, the character is I. It is not a comma or a semicolon. Therefore, again, this character would also pass. There is no invalidity here. And then, again, there would be I plus plus. Now, I's value becomes 3. We go to the condition. Now, 3 is not less than 3. User login dot length value was 3. So 3 is not less than 3 here. This condition is not satisfied. That means that we come out of this loop. We have in fact checked all the characters in the name Ali. And since there is no comma or semicolon in these 3 characters, therefore no invalidity, no return false. I realize that this example is a bit longish one for you, but it's an important one, and I want to fully explain it to you. Inshallah, in our subsequent lecture, we shall continue with this example. We have to break here. Our time for today's lecture is likely to be over. So, till then, it's Allah Hafiz.